Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Bodacious Rant with Burn and Rye. Hope everybody's been doing great. We're almost the end of March, which is crazy, just because this first quarter of the year is going by pretty quick. If you haven't already, feel free to check out our review of, one of the best movies of the year, Project Hail Mary. That's already up and spoiler free as well. And we're doing another spoiler review, how we had to deal with a heartwarming sci-fi story. We're going to be dealing with some horror comedy. And if you haven't guessed it or haven't seen the first one, this may be a little bit confusing, but we're talking about Ready or Not 2, Here I Come, starring Samara Weaving and Catherine Newton, Peter Hadesy, and Sarah Michelle Gellar, and so on and so forth. This is a spoiler-free review, so we're not going to ruin it for you guys or get too much into the details. But if you happen to like the movie, you like tuning in with us, or all that good stuff, you just want to rant about movies like we do, feel free to give us that thumbs up to show your support, ringing the bell for notifications, and of course subscribe. Appreciate you all for tuning in and whatnot. So the first Ready or Not movie that came out a few years ago, in which Samara Weaving is a girl who married into a rich family who secretly is part of a cult, and to survive she has to play a game of hide and seek. Now, this one takes place right after that, in which she survived that first movie, but little does she know she's not out of the game yet, and she has to play it again with a whole new group of people who are trying to kill her before dawn. So she essentially has like 12 hours or something. I don't remember the whole time with it, but I remember liking the first one. I didn't get to rewatch it before this to kind of have it fresh in my mind, but it's a pretty straightforward story. There's nothing too crazy about it or something, but I think that was one of the first movies I saw Samara Weaving in, if not her first movie, so that's just me. But I just remember the first one being, decently funny, very grounded, a little bit dark. And this one continues that trend, but I definitely feel like it leaned more into the comedy aspect of it, which isn't a bad thing, but I think some fans may not jive with it as much. I'm not 100% sure, but Burn, I forget, did you watch the first one as well? What did you think of this one, out of curiosity?
Yeah, I did watch the first one, and I really enjoyed the first one a lot. It was one that, after the end of it, I didn't think there was going to be a sequel, but, here we are 7 years later, and they're doing a sequel to it, and, although I felt like it didn't need it, like the way that movie ended, I felt like it felt like it was very much self-contained, but I guess they, to their credit, they did find an interesting way of like extending it, where it felt like, okay, I can see how these things would probably, like, the domino effect would lead into the other, and that was pretty interesting to see. I really liked Elijah Wood's character as the guy who's sort of like adjudicating over this whole this, I guess, Game of Thrones, you could call it, without spoiling too much. But yeah, I really enjoyed the first one, and I found myself having a good time with this one as well. Although I don't think this is quite as good as the first movie. Samara Weaving, I think, is still great as usual. She is like the modern day scream queen. I think she's, with her work in these movies. I think she appeared in one of the more recent Scream movies for a cameo. But yeah, she does a really good job of sort of picking up right where she left off in the first one, just sort of in her sort of just like desperate attempt of just trying to survive the day, and adding the element of Catherine Newton, who's her sister in this one, was a lot of fun. I think Catherine Newton is and also a really fun actress, and pairing them together was pretty good. Although I do feel like at times I wish the dialogue between them was a little bit better. It felt very like surface level in terms of the way that they interacted with each other, and you'll know why, like why they are talking the way they are when you see the movie. But I just felt it could have gone a little bit more deeper than that, but unfortunately it didn't. But these two actresses are really good in their own rights, and they're fun bouncing off of each other. So that leaned a lot into the fun factor, as you were calling out. Yeah, it was definitely a little bit more funny than the first movie. I felt like the first movie was a little bit more brutal. I like you, I didn't rewatch it before watching this one. I kind of just wanted to go into this one, just kind of like seeing it for what it is. But the first one has sort of like a darker and like more like gothic-y like vibe to it. I think the claustrophobia of the first movie, like where it takes place in this like big manor, lent itself a little bit better to that. Here you kind of have like a whole, it seems like a like a resort or something that they're on. They have a lot more room to play with here, but I felt like visually the first one felt a little bit more interesting on that aspect. The wider cast here was pretty fun, even though maybe I think I prefer the cast from the first movie a little bit more. Sarah Michelle Gellar and Sean Hattasey, who was more recently in The Pit. I feel like they're the standouts of the group here. They have a lot more to work with, and I think they're really fun in their interplay. You know, sort of the contrasting duo to Samara Weaving and Catherine Newton. So that was a lot of fun, and I think a lot of the really good comedy comes from Varun Saranga. I thought he was really funny in this movie, and again, this movie is a little bit more comedic, and he had a lot of those beats. So I think he did a good job with that. So yeah, overall, I would say this one was a lot of fun. The story itself was entertaining. I didn't feel like it had as much good kills as the first one, but I mean the gore is here for anyone who knows. It's the same directors, the duo known as Radio Silence, who did the first Ready or Not and the last couple Scream movies. So they're going to deliver in sort of the gore aspect of it. It's not as creative this time around, with the exception of the third act. I will say the third act is kind of one of the things that sort of brings this whole movie together, and I think was my favorite part of the movie. So it's one of those movies that feels like it gets better as it goes along. So it ended on a high note for me. So that was a really good thing. So yeah, this one was a ton of fun.
Yes, thank you. And it was Sean Hattasey. I'm sorry, I think I said Peter earlier, which I'm like makes no sense. But I just like that, I had, some of the more newer, like a classic Scream Queen, which is Sarah Michelle Gellar. And we also got Catherine Newton and Samara Weaving, who are definitely up there. They're definitely getting the recognition in the horror genre. Yeah, like I said, I think this was fun. I don't mind the more lighthearted tone, because I definitely agree that the first one was, I don't know about necessarily gothic. I think so, but it kind of gave me more like, I guess maybe rural, almost like a Knives Out feel, where it's like kind of fancy but in the country kind of thing, just because that's like the vibes of like some of the scenes I remember in that one. So I think I like that one better as more of like a more grounded like horror movie with some comedy, where this one's definitely more of a comedy blended more into horror. Again, not a bad movie in any way. I just feel like you said, I think some of the kills, majority of the kills were kind of like, very basic, nothing too crazy or anything that caught you by surprise. There were a couple gnarly ones, don't get me wrong, but it was more of just the character, like Samara Weaving holding it down, Catherine Newton's comedy, and then I liked Sarah Michelle Gellar and Sean Hattasey's, their dynamic. They added some good comedy / drama to the story. And then I forgot the one actor you said. I think I know which character he was playing. I didn't really check the cast list, but it's so stupid with him. And Elijah Wood, it's just, he knows how to be funny when he wants to be, and also a little creepy, almost like an Addams Family feel with him, but it worked out perfectly. With all that being said, I would still recommend it, but it's because it's a little more horror comedy. It's definitely more open. But I think it's going to depend more on like what your flavor is. Like, do you want more comedy or do you want more horror? So I'm going to give this one a 3 out of 5. Solid film, not bad. You can go see it on a Friday night, or maybe wait for a $5 Tuesday. Whatever makes the most sense for you. But if you saw the first one and you liked any of these actors and characters, I think you'll still have fun with this one. So still worth the watch.
Yeah, I mean, you put it best. It's more of a comedy with some horror elements sprinkled into it, and whereas the first movie was the opposite. So yeah, like if that seems like more so your taste, then you're gonna really enjoy this one. But if you wanted something a little bit more on the lines of the first movie, or something a little bit more horror, you might not like it as much. But at the end of the day, I think it's still fun. It's still entertaining. It's still one of those, like really fun, what are we gonna do on a Friday night type of movies. So yeah, you can do much worse than that with a lot of the other movies that are coming out in these days. But yeah, this one is it's a fun time, and I think for all those reasons, it's also going to be a 3 out of 5 for me. Yeah, you're just gonna go and have a good time and leave, and sometimes at an hour and a half, basically, sometimes that's all you want to do.
Just leave. I just had a funny visual in my head, so that's fine. But yeah, like I said, we both enjoyed it. It's just not like one of the best movies of the year. It's really going to depend on your taste. So 3 out of 5 for both of us, for me and Bern. For those of you that did happen to watch it, feel free to let us know what you thought about it in the comments without spoiling anything, of course. And as always, stay bodacious and keep on ranting for us.
Absolutely, everybody be good, be safe, and as always, we'll catch you guys on the next one.